This is Jody with weldingtipsandtricks.com. Let's get right to it. I've got a little project going on. I'm welding several parts. Actually, it's a repair. I'm replacing the ends on some type of rubber mold. These are really crude molds. They're like split halves, and they're all galled up on the end where a metal puck goes in, and they don't want that part fixed. They need them bad. They need them to make parts tomorrow morning, and this is Sunday, and I'm doing this, and as soon as they cool off, I'm going to deliver them. But there are a few issues I need to go over, otherwise some things won't make too much sense from what I'm doing. Number one is the end pieces that were all galled up, the guide rods were all mashed up and mangled and everything, so we're replacing end blocks. Now, in a perfect world, all that crappy weld right there would have been machined off. Actually, it's not too crappy. It held for quite a while, but it would have been machined off. I'm having to weld over remnants of previous weld, and it looked like this one was MIG welded, and MIG welded pretty cold. You can see that not much penetration went on in there, so the good news is it held for a long time, so I'm pretty sure whatever I do will hold up okay as well. But because some of these had MIG and some of them had obvious Tig stainless wire put in them, I'm going to use I want to use 309 wire on them. Another issue is these end blocks here, that they're nice and chamfered, so I can sink a deep weld in there. But the problem is they were supposed to be drilled after all the welding was done. They were supposed to be indexed on a CNC mill. It would pop all 4 holes in there. That way everything would match, and that's not what happened. And there's no more material. And it's Sunday, and they got to go out Monday, so I got to kind of try to get them all aligned as closely as possible and sort of indexed, and they may have to be reamed out a little bit to fit, but that's the plan anyway, so that's what we're going to do. There's quite a bit of play, I found out, quite a bit of tolerance on the guide rods, so I think we'll be okay. But I do need to take care in fitting them all up right. And what I'm going to do is I've got this little strong hand fixture point table. It's got a lot of little clamps and stuff, and I'm going to make a little makeshift fixturing station on the corner of it here. And I'm going to use one of the pieces for a straight edge. And I'm going to use all these clamps to hold it down. And I've also got to use a little piece of shim stock, because another issue is the pieces are slightly undersized. They're about 50 thousandths undersized. The holes are centered up, but they're undersized. So I got to shim it 25 thousandths on one side. So I've got a little makeshift little fixturing station here. I've got six of these things to tack up, and I want to get them all the same. So this is my best shot at it here on Sunday afternoon. I want to get at least 4 tacks on each end with it clamped down, jam up and jelly tight, so that when I tack it, it doesn't pull apart and leave a gap and miss a line and whatnot. So I check each one, make sure I don't see any light up in there, and then I move on to the next one. And obviously I have got things sped up here quite a bit because I don't want to bore you. Now, I do little jobs like this quite often, so having a table like this, a little investment with some clamps and everything, well worth it for me. It may not be worth it for everybody, but it's well worth it for me, because sometimes there's maybe 50 or 100 things like this to do, and being able to set up a little station and go through them all, tack them up, weld them up, it's just worth it for me. So I'll just do one, and then we'll move on to welding them. Again, I got good 4 tacks sunk down there pretty deep. 150 amps is what I'm using, and I am using 309 wire. Again, not as a crutch. I don't generally weld carbon steel with 309 routinely, although it can be done for a lot of applications. It's actually a good choice, but it's more expensive than ER70 type wire, and there's really no need to use it most of the time. I'm using it again here because I don't know what I'm welding over. I don't know what the last guy tigged it with on the ones that were welded with stainless rod, and I just don't want any problems. I don't want any to look at it and see any little cracks or anything like that when I'm done, and I'm pretty sure that 309 is going to be crack free, and it will eliminate any porosity also from boiling up something in the old MIG wire or something like that. So I didn't know until after, while I was replaying this, that I was shaking so bad. But when you blow it up like this, man, I was shaking. I had a friend who shook like this, and he was like one of the best welders I ever knew. So maybe it's not so bad. Anyway, back to the task. So you can see I'm just kind of rolling through here, and I'm wearing a Tig finger because it's getting kind of toasty. I could prop any one of numerous places, but you know, I do sell them, so it makes sense for me to show them every now and then. Well, again, this is the end, the short run here, and that's not much metal to leave on there with the kind of pressure that goes on these things. So I'm going to come back and on these welds I'm going to put another little quick pass. And what I do there is you've seen me dip the rod in and out, dabbing it, you know, at kind of a hopefully a regular interval. But for another pass like this, it just makes sense to just leave the wire in there and just kind of run over it like that. There's no point in all that dipping in and out when you're just kind of running a build-up bead like that. It's kind of like the way multiple passes on stainless pipe are done. They call it the lay wire technique. Again, to make sure the wire metal sinks down into the bottom of a V, it makes sense to get that rod out of there so you can see it. Lets the puddle heat up for a minute. The wire doesn't cool the puddle off. But for a second pass, again, I'm just pushing a little wire in there and leaving it with a little weave there and a little shake too. Taper off nice and slow so I don't leave a kind of a crater hole or anything like that. And we'll get another look at it here. Trying to keep the end of the rod shielded with argon all the time. Makes it look a little bit nicer. Alright, they're all done. You can see those three have holes all the way through. These three don't. The guide rods will be press fit into the ones that don't and bottomed out, and then they'll slip in through the other holes. And as soon as they cool off, I will deliver them. Well, hey, hang around for a minute. I got my son Jake to put together a little easy listening guitar track while I try to sell you a Tig finger. So hang around, and there's plenty of good arc shots and stuff like that. Ought to be fun to watch anyway.